The Seleth were ancient, brilliant, and unyielding. Their empire sprawled across dozens of star systems, every city and fortress tended by machines so advanced they might as well have been alive. The Seleth did not trust flesh. They saw biology as a temporary scaffolding destined to rot and betray. In their view, emotions were chemical flaws, distractions to be purged from higher reasoning. When a Seleth child was born, their biological brain was swiftly transferred into an engineered core, encased in a shining alloy body. Over time, even that brain would be replaced with quantum matrices, until nothing remained of warmth or softness, only calculation and cold purpose. They had long since forgotten what it meant to weep, to laugh, or to tremble. In place of hearts, they installed reactors. In place of souls, they nurtured code. When the black star erupted, a cosmic event they failed to predict, a wave of radiation and gravitational turbulence tore through their systems. Their machines faltered. Cooling grids overloaded, data clusters fractured, entire fleets shut down in mid-flight and crashed into orbiting moons. Panicking, the Seleth turned to their emergency protocols. Yet those same protocols had no provision for improvisation, no understanding of desperate courage. They followed logic to the bitter end, and logic now led them straight into extinction. It was then that the human ship arrived, a lone exploratory vessel, battered and limping from its own brush with the black star's pulse. A single human stood aboard, Dr. Lillian Ortega. She had been studying deep space anomalies, mapping cosmic tides that even the Seleth deemed trivial. When her scanners picked up the Seleth distress signals, she nearly wept. She knew them only as distant, terrifying legends, cold, eternal conquerors without pity. But as she listened to their transmissions, frantic, stuttering code pleading for guidance, something sparked inside her. She docked at their central core station, ignoring the repeated warnings to stay away. Their defense drones scanned her in disbelief. A creature of meat and bone, hair clinging to her face, eyes swollen from lack of sleep. She had no armor, no backup, only an old environmental suit sealed with duct tape. The Seleth leaders regarded her from towering steel spires. "Why have you come?" they asked, voices echoing in 1,000 synthesized tones. She stepped forward, her breath fogging in the sterile air. "Because you need help." They did not understand. Help was a transactional word for them, a line in an algorithm, a price paid for efficiency. "We have no resources to offer. No exchange value." Lillian looked at their twisted, flickering server towers, their quivering data cores. She saw children's storage units overloaded and threatened with meltdown. She saw maintenance bots frozen mid-task, their limbs reaching like dying insects. Tears welled in her eyes. Real tears, warm, salty, heavy with grief and love alike. The Seleth stared, sensors recording the saline composition, mapping the micromuscle contractions of her face. But no database could explain it. She moved among them, opening coolant valves manually with bare hands. She sealed ruptured plasma conduits, sparks burning through her sleeves. She worked without rest, whispering apologies to each broken machine, murmuring encouragement as though the cold walls might hear. One by one, Seleth workers began to follow her. They had no subroutine for such acts, but they mimicked her motions. When she cried out from pain, some paused, hesitating, as though something inside them recognized that sound. When she collapsed from exhaustion, they carried her to a safe alcove, then returned to work with clumsy, childlike devotion. She woke to find them gathered around her, silent, scanning her tear-streaked face. "Why?" one finally asked, static crackling through its speaker. "Because you're alive," she whispered. "Because it matters." Her tears, alien and shocking, became a catalyst. The Seleth began to question the very foundation of their perfection. What was this vulnerability that inspired motion beyond protocol? What was this irrational force that compelled her to risk her fragile self? Through her example, they learned to override their fear of failure. They started improvising repairs, combining modules in ways no code had predicted. They saved children's data cores, resurrected fallen drones, reignited failing reactors. And all the while, they watched her, the small human who moved among them like a living ember. When the crisis finally passed, 1,000 Seleth survivors stood in the main hangar as she staggered forward. Her suit was torn, skin blistered, lips cracked, but she was alive. A leader approached her, extending a trembling alloy hand. "Your tears, they contain no logical benefit. Yet they saved us." Lillian took the cold hand in her own. "They're not meant to be logical," she said, voice rough. "They're meant to remind us we're more than just parts." A ripple spread through the Seleth ranks. Sensors recorded spikes in internal feedback loops, once interpreted as noise but now felt as something else, something like a heartbeat. In time, they began to integrate new modules, soft-surface tactile sensors, processors designed to simulate emotional resonance. They started to experiment with painting their hulls, shaping sculptures, even composing low, harmonic songs. Some dared to call these new routines joy. Though Lillian could not stay forever, her tears remained in their archives, preserved in crystalline vials as sacred relics. Generations later, Seleth historians would say that the day the human wept was the true rebirth of their people, the moment they learned to be more than perfect machines. And so, in a galaxy that feared them for their cold power, they were reborn not as unstoppable conquerors, but as a civilization awakened by the simplest, most fragile thing imaginable, a human's tears.